What's up guys, Tyler here from When Tyler Draws. So in this next demo, I'm going to be answering a question that I get sometimes, and that is, how do you fill out large sections with graphite? Or how do you shade large shapes, right? Because sometimes whenever we're modeling form or whenever we're turning the form, sometimes, we just start from the darkest, dark half tone or shadow shape, and we just kind of crawl towards the light. But what about whenever you're dealing more with like shape design? How do you fill out a large shape with graphite? And so I want to show you a few ways on how I do that today. These are some of my drawings where I'm kind of doing different techniques. For example, like this shadow shape here under Lecter's throat, or this shadow shape here on Lecter's side of his head, or even some of the background designs that I'll give just a little bit for atmosphere. And the way that I'm going to go about doing that is we're going to have a little bit of Mignola here. So this is just a sketch I worked up real quick for Mike Mignola because why not? He's, in my opinion, definitely the greatest shape designer of our century. He's just amazing at shape design. So we're going to take one of his faces. I want to show different methods in which I basically fill out with graphite a shadow shape. So clearly, as we see in this picture, this whole shape right here represents a shadow shape. Also, the orb of the eye, the lips, and so on. And so I'm going to show you a few ways in which I go about filling that out. Now, for something like this, I think probably the method I use the most is the one I'll show you first. So what I'll do is I'll typically take a 3B or something that's going to produce a lot of dark graphite, right? And this is just a scrap piece of paper, but I'm usually like on the corner of a piece of paper or any part of the paper where I'm not planning on having it framed, just like a scrap part of the piece of paper. And you can even just get a straight scrap piece of paper. What I'll do is I'll just put a little swatch of graphite like that, right? And then I'll take my blending stump, and blending stump is kind of a misnomer, or so I've learned, because you don't really use it to blend, but you can use it to lay in just even shapes of graphite, right? And so I'll use this as almost like a brush in paint. And I'll take this, and with it saturated with graphite, I'll just begin to lay in evenly some tone. Now this is crucial, at least in my drawing style, because if you want to shade well, number one, you have to be careful, but number two, you're going to try to get even tone in your drawings, right? And if you want to produce even tone, then this is one way to go about doing that. Went a little overboard right underneath this lip here, so I'm going to erase that just a little bit. Actually, honestly, that whole thing needs to be filled in, doesn't it? I'm going to erase where the light is hitting the upper plane of the lip. Okay, so now we have like an even shape there. And that's great if you want to cover a large area with even graphite. Now, because I am such a fan of texture, that's not going to be suitable for me, right? And let's say also you want to go a little darker. So now, I'll typically grab my, let's just say my H pencil, right? Again, I'm only going to recommend Tombow. Let's not do that. Tombow mono eraser. So I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to sharpen it to a point. Tombow mono pencils are the way to go. H grade are my favorite. So let's say I got a point now, right? Now I'm just going to go in and just through a method of hatching and pressing very lightly, because I don't want to damage the paper. I don't want to also burnish the graphite either. It's a metal, and so if you press it in too hardly, you'll burnish it and it'll get that really shining effect, and we don't want that. So just very lightly, just begin filling in the shadow shape as evenly as possible. Now there's different methods of cross-hatching. Because I'm treating this as just a flat shape as Mr. Mignola would treat it, I'm just going to go this way. But sometimes if you're trying to get an effect of dimensionality, you want your cross-hatching to kind of match the cross contours of the face. So what I mean by that is I would hatch in the direction of the form of the face to create that illusion of it turning away in space. Okay, so as you can see here, I've begun filling in the holes in my paper. And that's another key about shading, is that it's less about pressing hard. Now, of course, you can get darker grades by pressing harder on your pencil, and that helps to a degree, but only so far. For the most part, that's the reason why we have different grades of pencil, whether it be 2B or 2H, is that you can press with the same amount of even pressure and get different tones depending on the graphite to clay ratio in your pencils. And so don't press too hard if you can help it. The real way to get darker tones in your drawing and to increase the resolution of whatever it is you're drawing is to fill in the holes of the texture paper that you're using. That also reminds me, the paper that I typically use and that I love to use the most would be Strathmore 400 series drawing paper, usually with a medium tooth. That's kind of my secret go-to paper. And so you fill it in. Now, I don't know if you can see very well on the video, but this is not as harmonious as I would like the shadow shape to be. And so what I then do is I take an even harder grade pencil, let's just say a 3H here, and I'm going to go in and with a very sharp point, I'm going to go over what I just filled in with H so that I can create some more harmony in the shadow shape. And this is going to be a way, with a sharper pencil, of filling in those holes that an H pencil is just too thick to fill in. And already you can see that this is filling in a very nice, even tone for this shadow shape. Now, I did not define my shape very well, so I have to go ahead and reinforce some of these lines so you can kind of see that core shadow along the face. There we go. And so already we're beginning to create a sense of atmosphere in this shadow shape. 3H is doing a great job of harmonizing this value so that we get a very even value here. Of course, a better job could be done than even here. It's awkward sort of drawing at this table. I'm used to actually drawing standing up at an easel. All right, there you have it. So that's a way of filling in a large space, and typically it's the same thing no matter how large the drawing is that you're doing. You can just fill it in that way. You start off with a stump, right? Lay an even tone, and you just go in with an H and then 3H to harmonize it. So that's one method. Of course, another method is, let's say you don't have a blending stump. Well, let's just say we take a square here. You know, you can do the same thing without a blending stump. So you have to have a little bit more finesse. A blending stump just allows you to harmonize the values a little bit easier. You can even do it a little bit after the fact to harmonize it. Let's say you lay in, H right here for the eye. You can go in the blending stump after to create a little more harmony. Don't press too hard though, because you don't want to burnish and remove some of that nice texture that you created with a sharp pencil. But you can just do the same thing even without a blending stump. Blending stump just helps you kind of expedite the process a little bit. You just go back in with your 3H. And then the last method I'll show you. So one is with the blending stump, one is with just a regular pencil. You can do it in your sketchbook. The last one is a shortcut that I absolutely love. Now, I'll forever be indebted to my friend Bentley for showing me these pan pastel applicators, foam applicators. You can find them off Amazon for super cheap. I think it's by a company named Soft. Actually, it's right here on the handle, SOFFT. But these things are amazing. You just take your graphite powder, and you don't even have to buy expensive graphite powder. If you just save all of your pencil shavings like I have here on the pencil pointer, that'll be enough. But you just take your pan pastel applicator, dip into the graphite powder, and then you just begin laying just even swaths of graphite like this. And it's great because it's almost like drawing with a brush, right? And so look how great that looks. I mean, just an even swath of graphite. And then again, if it looks too flat because you were doing it with a foam applicator, you can go back in and add that necessary texture with an H pencil, right? So you just go in here and just begin cross-hatching away. Then you take your 3H to harmonize values even more, right? To fill in those little holes that you couldn't hit with your regular H pencil. And there you have it. So hopefully that answers the questions. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. And thanks for tuning in.